I wait till I get some water.
Uh,
That's
okay,
fine. Let's go.
no problem.
Yeah. Hi,
So,
Roberto.
hi Anil. So, people, we have a good inviter that is Anil Batra, this digital analytics from United States. He has been a teacher from 6 years ago. I met him in Udemy, and then he has on his own academy system. He has been a good teacher. He helped
Thank you.
me with different situations and problems I have in fighting in other positions and other jobs. So welcome to Robert TV shows that this experimentations and interview process right now with my channel. So Anil, we are gonna start with the interview.
All right.
So
Thank you, Roberto.
could you please tell about yourself a little
Yeah.
bit?
So about me, I have been in digital marketing and analytics field for about 17 plus years. I don't even count it anymore. Maybe 20 plus years actually.
Wow.
I started working in the databases in my early career, and then moved into log file analysis. That's where I stumbled upon this new field, digital or web analytics at that point. Have worked for several agencies and leading for analytics team for companies like Microsoft. But in my early career, this is how I got started. And your audience, I want to tell them, you know, you never know where the opportunities or things are going to come that'll actually interest you. So when I was working in a company building a data warehouse for them, that's when I stumbled upon this web analytics field, log files, and then started developing my own site to actually get deeper into this thing. Like, okay, what is this? And I got interested in website development. That's where my next opportunity came, which actually put me in this path, which is a company was looking for somebody who has experience in log file analysis and understand the web, how websites work. So it was kind of rare combination at that time, and I got started. So it was
Interesting.
just a hobby that put me into that path. People think like, hey, it's a hobby I'm doing on the side, but you never know who's looking for that stuff. And now web analytics is moving into more like all the data is flowing into your data warehouse, BigQuery. So
Yeah.
where I started and where I ended up after those years, that's where we are now. So you think about little things that you find interesting and keep want to do it for your passion. They might actually turn into something, a big career down the road. So pay attention to what you're doing.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's actually what that was my second questions I got, but you are already answered. So
Well, I can answer in detail if you want. I just kind of covered it, right?
yeah, right. So if you with your own testing experimentation website that you had before, that's
Yeah.
the way you learn about data interpretations.
Yeah. So I built my own site. It was just kind of fun way of me doing a project. I wanted to learn how websites work, pull the data, started with data analysis, learn the website development. I built a site from scratch, like doing everything on my own. Built coding the site, building that database backend, doing analysis on the site, and then the whole process of running a business. So that's how I got started. It was one of the top sites, Indian websites at that time. Yeah.
Wow.
Since then,
Wow.
I've built several other websites just to play with it. But yeah, that special memory always remains, because back then I had a friend who was actually into video. So back in those days, there was no YouTube. So to embed a video on your website was pretty new. Microsoft had a media player, and there was another company called Real Networks that had a media player. So we were kind of playing with how to put media on our site. This was back in 2000 timeframe, so that 20 years ago. We were trying to put video on our website, and we were successfully able to do it, but the bandwidth wasn't available for us to like, and people did not have phones. So we were like, who's going to put a video? But, you know, YouTube
Yeah,
came
I know,
and they built it.
I know what you're saying because it's only for playing that you want to try new things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
uh, So it's interesting.
yeah,
So, um, since you have been working with several companies, and I had too the opportunity to do like A/B testing. That actually I was talking to my a client today in the morning and say, no, everybody has the mind of has an experimentation process in the company, because the high school of the teaching the kids right now and all school is you go to the exam and there is
yeah,
only one result. So, but in digital and marketing web is more experimentation process that
yes.
become. So, how do you tell to your client to, in order to improve conversion rate, they need to start doing A/B testing?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky one, right? I recently actually did a research on this topic, talking to various folks who have been doing A/B testing, conversion rate optimization, all that processes, right? So it really depends on the company. And if there is a mindset, culture, data driven culture, then it's much easier to actually tell them, hey, this is what we can do. And if it's very traditional company, hey, we always do things this way, it becomes very difficult. Now,
Oh,
if I'm going in a client situation, they haven't done anything at all in testing, and this is what I teach in my classes as well, is you start small. Experimentation first. You have to be have that experimentation mindset. I always had that experimentation mindset. Whether it's new technology tool, something, I'm always jumping into it. Whether I might not end up using it for my on my own, but I just want to understand, I want to know what's going on. So that is the experimentation mindset. So we assuming you listeners have the experimentation mindset, they want to go to their clients, I would suggest something very small. Don't make it big. Say, hey, you're trying to do this. Can we just set up a test to see if these wordings or this image will drive any more clicks or any more actions? Pick an objective. Once you have that in place, put the system in place, that's a big effort. Once you have that in place, then you're kind of moving progress and you have done the hard part, which is putting that process. After that, it is about finding those opportunities where somebody in the organization, maybe it's not your direct client, maybe it's somebody else you're working with who has the same mindset, can listen to you and run these experiments. Once you start making some progress there, evangelize it throughout the company. Tell everybody or your client, bring those stories again and again. Hey, remember that we did this experiment on these wordings or change the headline, how that made an impact. Bring third party studies. There are lots of studies out there from companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Dell, eBay. Pick stories and tell how they were doing it. Somebody is eventually going to listen. It's a lot of education process that you have to go through.
mm, interesting, interesting. Yeah. So, uh, in my experience as data analyst, but more as a marketer,
Yeah,
I found that you say there is company they have their very old mindset and then their new mindset, but that depends more on the company. But I think they don't know the difference between an analyst, real analyst, that is a that data interpreter,
yeah,
someone who making reports, or someone who is only configuration or
yeah.
implementation about the system. How you can explain the difference between them?
Yeah, so difference between those is really, think about, again, it boils down to where the company is. Instrumentation guy is going to be putting the tags together. That's like a technical. skill set that you need, right?
Right.
Then you have a person who's doing a reporting. Think about they are, uh, how do you explain this? Is all their job is to collect the data and put it in reports. They're not thinking in terms of what needs to go in the reports, how those reports are going to be used by the business. They're basically they are stuck in just pulling the numbers because there is a lot of data munging and all that stuff that needs to be done, right? So that is their role. However, what always say is technical role aside, right?
Right.
And there are different kind of mindsets. One mindset that I always read about people who are in the industry, who are new to the industry, I would say, not established folks. New to the industry are always talking about technical marketing, technical side of marketing, right? They're
Right.
saying is every marketer needs to have all these skills, technical side of things, reporting side of things, and insights side of things. What I suggest is I said, no, technical side of things is for a technical guy to do it. Marketer does not need to worry about JavaScript and CSS because that's most of the people are going to sleep or check out when you talk about that to marketers. So really it's two roles. One is the technical side. Yes, understand a bit of JavaScript, understand CSS, that's great, but you're not going to sit there and code. Second part is where the reporting and insights, they need to be together. Person who's doing reporting needs to understand the business purpose, needs to understand who's using it, what the value it's going to provide to the business, and then really craft those reports. And not only craft those reports, but the technical person on what kind of detail they need to be tracked.
Right.
So that's how I think about those roles. But if you want to merge, sure, maybe there are people who can understand all those aspects and can have more than 24 hours in a day to spend on all these activities. Sure, go ahead.
It's crazy because it's so
Yeah,
difficult that you cannot take
yeah,
everything like
correct.
yeah.
I mean, you can understand bits and pieces of it. So a technical person can understand, hey, business is going to use it. But now if you ask them to put the reports together, then you ask them to do the insights and help the stakeholders, that's like 2, 3 people's job.
Right.
And I don't expect those people. That's why when somebody comes to me, like even your experience, like, I ask, what are you interested in? Are you interested in technical side or not technical side? Understand both sides, but pick the direction you want to go. It's like telling a developer on your company to also do marketing and sales. They don't do that. It's a technical role. They are too focused on providing a technical solution on the market requirements. Similarly, in analyst, here's a technical implementation providing you the coding required to do your insights.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but in the theory, but in the practice and with companies, my client saying to me, "You are like a bridge. You know about technical and you know about marketing.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's good, but sometimes it's hard because
Yeah.
they're totally different worlds.
Correct.
They're
And I'm not saying to be a bridge. You have to be a bridge. You have to understand the technologies that drive the business. But if somebody tells you like, hey, your job is to insights and provide these things, and then hey, code this, all that stuff too, so you're sitting there coding JavaScript all day long, that's not going to work. I have clients who can understand those things. I'm working actually with one client and I was impressed with his coding skills, and he actually coded the program. And he goes, off when I was talking to him last week, and he goes, I can't spend my time doing that coding, I just want to focus on this stuff, right? Because his stuff is marketing, analysis of the data. He's not focused on that technical because that takes away his energy. It's a different mindset. So
right.
it's a two people, at least two people's job, maybe three.
Okay. So, what are the best books have you ever read or blogs for data interpretation? Because there is a lot of people on the internet talking about how to implement Google Tag Manager, but it's not people how to interpret data, but because that
Correct.
requires business knowledge.
Correct.
Um, so
Yeah. I think definitely. I used to write a lot. If you check out my old blogs, there are tons of stuff. I never used to touch the technical implementation parts in my. And then I started going into the technical side of things too because things were changing and I wanted to check them too. But so you can check out mine. I'll be writing more on anilbatra.com as well as optizen.com also. You'll see that the blog section. Avinash Kaushik is one that I always recommend people follow. He writes pretty good stuff and he details out all those things. So I would highly recommend that. Other than that, I think I don't see any other. I mean, if somebody has to follow, Avinash is number one, right?
Right.
Gary Angel used to write a lot about analysis side of things. He is no longer doing in the digital analytics side, but whatever he's doing on the retail side of business is actually also very useful to read. So find Gary Angel, read his stuff. And Digital Analytics Association has some post as well. But yeah, that's pretty much what. If I have to read one, I'll just pay attention to what Avinash is writing, and then what I write.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, you brought up a good point. I think there is a huge gap now when I'm thinking about this. I don't read a lot of stuff unless I have to, right? But I can't
Yeah.
even think of anything. There is a huge gap in like this kind of skill set. There are a bunch of people writing it. I mean, you search on Google, you'll find somebody's blog, but like fully focused is Avinash, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, like Avinash is the Google advocated, and he
Yeah.
knows what he's saying. But I think, like for when I started with web analytics, like 6 years ago in a betting site, I need to learn about sports, and I actually I didn't have any interested before that in sports, nothing at all, because for me it was websites and
Yeah.
other geek stuff. So when you go to work, you have to learn about the business and how to interpret the data with the owner. So it's quite rough because nobody's talking about that. So
Yeah.
everybody's saying, "Hey, your Google time of the business is wrong," but there is no way possible that this will be perfect. So why to fix it? Why to
Yeah.
spend time fix it? Or the question of the client at the moment with other partners was, hey, we have uh, bad data. We don't have a 100% data accuracy. So
Correct.
and that
Yeah.
you will never have that. So no, you can learn about that, and you will see that data and Google Analytics or whatever is is um is raw data. Is not clean. So
Correct.
you have to clean it up. But this is only you learn it with experience.
Experience. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you data accuracy is one of the biggest part, but let's say even if you set up Google Analytics perfectly, and again, I warn you this one because there are a lot of blogs. You mentioned you were talking about blogs, right? There are a lot of blogs who are saying you can do this, do that. I think I had a conversation with you where you were trying to find out stuff and say, how can I track this? How can I track that? How can I track that? And I had to say, Roberto, step back. Let's not talk about tracking all that stuff, right?
Right,
Right?
right,
Right.
yeah,
It is because there are a lot of new entrants into like people who have entered in the field in recent years have always talked about like track this, track that, track this because there are hacks, right? You can write a
right,
JavaScript, do CSS, grab the values, put it there. My question is, why do you need to do that? What is the value that's going to provide?
right,
We spend a lot of time. I mean, I'm working with a client. We spend a lot of time meetings to just discuss what we need to track, what is the business value that's going to provide, who is that going to benefit from that, what do they need to run their business, how will they apply to their business, all those questions before we even go and track anything.
Right.
And if not, that things don't need to be tracked, then we don't track them. Yes, as an analyst, you can say, hey, what about this link? What about that thing? Is somebody looking at this area, that area? Question is, let's assume you can track them and you can find a hack. Who's going to use it? Right? Boils down to the first question. Who's going to be using, what's the value, how will they use it, and all that stuff.
Right.
So start there, spend a lot of time there. Even if people who are watching and looking for a career in this field and they want to go start, interview, let's say interview. If you bring that kind of insights and say, this is what I will do, you will be hired. I guarantee you. It doesn't matter whether you know how to do tag manager or not. Take my courses. You can learn tag manager in a day.
Right.
You
It's
can
easy.
learn Google Analytics in a day. I can teach you in half a day on how to use Google Analytics. But what I'm talking about is more than just using the tool. If
Yeah.
you have a hammer in your hand or a saw in your hand, that does not make you a carpenter. I know how to use a hammer, right? I can have a nail and I can hit it on a nail. That only tells me I know how to use that tool.
Yeah.
But
But
I
you're,
do not, that does not make me a carpenter,
yeah. Right.
right? So think about that.
Yeah. I know what you're saying because there is a lot of people that's talking about it, but is not saying that the most important thing is what we can do with data,
Yeah.
actually.
And it's a practice. You can take the courses like my courses you can take, and I talk about these things. But at the end, it's like a practice. Every site that you're working on, what I'm
Right.
teaching is the mindset shift, the way you look at the stuff, and then rest is all dependent on, hey, this is a scenario. How do we do this? What am I looking, and what do we need to track?
So, in relation with that question that I recently did to you, and you already answered with your experimentation process. So, how we can transcend as professional in the field? That you already answered that question. So,
Yeah. Cool. Anything else you want to add there, or
yeah.
pro, pro?
So, um,
Yeah, I mean, as a professional, I've already answered. Like you said, I can. If there is any specific question, I can answer. But all I say is, pay attention to why analytics exist. What are you going to do? And then read a bunch of stuff, watch a bunch of videos, take courses. Here's how I look at things. Let's
right.
say if I spend an hour reading something or a week reading something, any book, any videos, any courses, if I can get one thing out of that that is applicable to my career, right,
Right.
then I have achieved this thing. I have achieved the value, or I have derived the value from there. Most of the people go with the mindset, this is, let's say you buy a book. They read a book and say, yeah, a book was good, but there was only one thing I learned from this. Well, you learned one thing that you did not know. And how much did you spend on a book? Maybe $30, $20. So the book is good, in my opinion, right?
Okay.
That's how you have to look at one thing at a time, and over a period of time, they all add up. So think about those things. Always be hungry to learn new things. What
So,
is
and
out there? Yeah.
the last question I got: do you like the new system, Google Tag Manager for preview mode?
I do not like it. Earlier it was easier to do it. Now it's not that easy, but I get what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is, if you look at Google Analytics 4 now has a debug mode within
Right.
the interface. You can see things coming. And what they were trying to do is merge those together. So it's not just tag manager or this. You can just use one debugger. So I
Yeah,
think,
I use the debugger to have a quick control of what is going on with Google Analytics or the tool, because
yeah,
sometimes some JavaScript can bad performance that data you're receiving. So I use it before for like uh, data audits. But right now, I try to use it again for a data audit I need to do, and it's not working as before. So it gives me
The
a headache.
the
Yeah.
debugger mode. Yeah. So I don't know if you watched my live stream that I did a week ago, where I showed the debugger in action on my YouTube channel. And as I was going through, and this is what I mentioned, the debugger does not always work based on what actions you're taking. It skips certain things, and
Mm,
also it loses the connection as well. If I maybe there are certain steps that they haven't made clear, maybe they don't know what happens, but every now and then it'll lose the connection, and then it'll skip certain events. You have to keep watching the stream doing bunch of stuff, but I think it's overall it will capture all the actions you're doing. So if you ran into issues, maybe there is some maybe it lost the connection. So I do not know exactly what happened, but the Google Analytics 4 and debugger are not perfect at this point. There are a bunch of issues.
okay. Okay. It's good to
Yeah,
know. Good to know.
yeah.
So thank you so much to came here to my channel. So
You're
it's
welcome.
always
Yes.
um good chance to see you because you are very busy and I am very busy too. So it's very hard to
I
like
know.
two
We've been
weeks.
trying for months now, I guess. So, yes,
Yeah.
thank you for having me on your channel. Yes, it was fun.
So I will share your blog and your academy here in my description. So people, if you want any questions, let us know, please. And you want to follow us, please, and share my channel. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Thank you, Roberta. It was fun.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Bye.